Hi all, this is Skate, and obviously this video is about the FV301, but before we go into the details of that, I gotta say, I think my favourite thing about Update 7.0 so far is the visual differences, the tracks, the gun movement, and those hit markers. I think it's great. I actually think that's possibly my favourite thing about the update so far, because you can appreciate it in every single tank. Especially those big guns, they look great. But yeah, this video is not about that. Can't really make a video about, ooh, look at the hit markers. Let's talk FV301. It's the Tier 8 British light tank, and it's absolutely brilliant in my opinion. I say that about a lot of tanks, I know. Although I do have a video coming out soon where I talk about a tank and I just say, turd, it's a turd. Can't polish a turd, it's still a turd. Yeah, so you got that to look forward to. But I do enjoy a lot of tanks, and I do enjoy a lot of different playstyles in a lot of different tanks. Light tanks, though, can be an absolute barrel of laughs. The gameplay on light tanks is a lot of fun. It's on the edge of your seat stuff. I've said this before about light tanks. It's just go, go, go. It is. It's not just spotting in light tanks. Obviously, the main first job at the very start of a game is spot. Let your team know where they need to be going. But aside from that, you can use that mobility to get where you need to be. It's one of those here, there, and everywhere tanks. When you need to be here, you can get here quickly. When you need to be there, you're gonna get there quickly. It's a brilliant little tank for that. But it's not unique in that playstyle. Take something like the RU251. Now, the RU can actually get here, there, and everywhere much, much quicker than this thing. I mean, obviously the RU goes 80 kilometers top speed, which is just ridiculous. But in the grand scheme, this goes 62, and it's incredibly mobile, even at top speed, at turning corners. You're never going to complain about its mobility. Where this thing actually starts to shine for a light tank is actually the fact it has 10 degrees of gun depression, the same as an RU. But it hasn't got bad armour. I'm actually surprised how many bounces I've had off this thing when you're using the full degrees of gun depression. I mean, turret, 160mm on the front, 76 on the side, 51 on the rear. That ain't bad at all. Even the frontal hull, in my opinion, is not actually that bad for a light tank. 76mm of frontal armour on the front upper plate. What that basically means is you're not going to get HE'd to death anytime soon by a T49 frontally. And being as you cannot be circled by a T49, as long as you're keeping an eye out for it, you need not worry about those things, which is actually quite nice for a light tank. Don't get me wrong, you're going to be facing some big, nasty, derpy Tier 8 and 9 tank destroyers. They can pretty much comfortably go through you. But something like a T49, which can keep up with you and chase you, as long as you keep your front to it, you don't need to worry about being HE'd by it. That, to me, is a nice selling point of this tank, because that means they had to switch to heat if you come in near them, which means it's going to drop their DPM quite considerably, which means you can then out DPM them. All in all, that's a nice selling point to me, because realistically, Tier 8 light tanks, what are we looking? T54 lightweight. It's got way less DPM. In a one-on-one, I'd be comfortable with the FV301 winning. T49, you can HE it, it can't HE you. Same with the RU251. And same with the AMX 1390. What I'm getting at against its counterparts in a one-on-one type environment, which you will get with other light tanks, it performs exceedingly well. Especially if you can get hold of that 10 degrees of gun depression, use it to your advantage, and get more bounces off the turrets as well. And that even applies to their mediums, because even if you look at Tier 8 medium tanks, this performs comfortably against a lot of them, which is great news all around. Because sometimes you'll look at some and you'll go, oh, in a one-on-one, I'm going to get my butt handed to me by that thing. No, you can be comfortable and confident in this thing. In essence, the way I try to play it myself is, if I'm against light tanks, I'll be quite confident and just go a bit YOLO and ram into them, splash some HE, reverse, ram them again. That sort of mentality is what I go with against other lights, in this thing anyway. And then mediums, I'll try and be a little bit more reserved, try and obviously use your gun depression, use a ridge, just poke out that turret. You've got much higher chance of getting a bounce as a result. And you've got a good chance of penetrating nearly every medium with 226mm of penetration, which is very, very respectable at Tier 8. Heavies, your job is obviously to circle if you can. If you cannot put yourself in a circumstance to circle, I wouldn't waste your time fighting against one at that point, unless you're in a one-on-one and they're exposed. And it's the same with tank destroyers at that point in time. Unless you can get behind them, there's no point going in for a one-on-one scenario. But like I said, that sort of gameplay is pretty much what you do with all light tanks, isn't it? The difference with this one is using that gun depression and actually being able to get some bounces. And for that, combined with the mobility, that great penetration, it makes it a very tasty all-round tank. Now, some people are saying that's OP. I don't think so myself. I really don't, actually. From the other hand, I've heard people say it's absolutely useless, which I think you're an idiot if you think it's useless, because it's really not. One thing I like to do, actually, if I want to try and ascertain whether or not I think a tank is ridiculously strong or not, I'll just compare it to my counterparts which I've played. There's no point me looking at other people's stats going, hey, they're performing really well, therefore it's OP. I'll compare it to my own. As an example, we all know I love the T49. But yet, if I compare my T49 statistics to this, they are nearly identical except a couple of slight differences. As an example, in the last 60 days, my win rate average in the T49 is 81.8%. In this, it's 78%, so very slightly lower. Here's where I can see a difference though. I have a higher spot rate in this thing, and I have higher average damage in this thing. Light tanks, I don't think it is all about the average damage, but as an example, my damage per battle in the T49 average is 1,753, and in this thing it's 1,977. Now the reason I think that's important to reference is because what that basically means is I'm doing a little bit more per game in this, even though my win rate doesn't reflect it being 3% lower, but I'm spotting more for my team, I'm doing more damage for my team. And I purely think that's the difference in playstyle between the tanks. Because I think this is a little bit more user-friendly. You can use gun depression more efficiently. It'll penetrate so much better than... Obviously, I run a T49 with the 152. So with that in mind, I'll penetrate more shots with this. It's also a lot more accurate, so I'll land a lot more shots. So the playstyle actually makes this a nicer tank to play. It makes it more reliable as well. And the playstyle is just 10 times more user-friendly. I mean, that FV301 in front of me just now, his issue, in my opinion, was he sat still when he came out and I was shooting at him. Obviously, he wasn't looking at me. But if he just wiggled back and forth, there was a much higher chance of me hitting his turret, sorry, his mantlet, and therefore bouncing. Those little things go a long way with this sort of tank when you're just using the turret. Here comes a fun little run, by the way, and this is another good thing which light tanks are good at. I noticed there's a lot of low hit point targets on the field, so I decided it's probably best if I just push and clear them out. So we killed 2 there. I'm going to hopefully pop up, kill the next one, and then we're going to go straight on to the next one as well. So 4 shots, 4 kills. I know that sounds like a proper kill-stealing scenario, but it's not. I saw the opportunity as a light tank to push, take advantage of that mobility, the quick rate of fire, and basically clear out those targets. Otherwise, we would have just been sat in that back and forth for a little bit longer. Now here, I'm waiting for my team, and the reason being is I'm potentially a one-shot. 2 of my other tanks are potentially a one-shot. We all need to wait and go together. That way, we're not going in one by one on an auto-loader, so we can just clear us out. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I managed to cinch the final kill as well, which is quite nice. And that meant it was a fun game, and it highlights some of the fun which you can have in a light tank going, ooh, look, lots of low hit point targets. Time to go YOLO and clear them all out. That's something I do think is quite unique to the light tank gameplay. So it's not all about damage, which is why I picked these 2. If you'd like more, well, actually, I haven't really talked any statistics on the tank. I've kind of just waffled on a bit, haven't I? So with that in mind, if you wanted another video on this tank, I'm more than happy to make one. I've got plenty more footage with the tank. But the reason I picked these replays is because I think they highlight what the tank is capable of, not just damage. I think it highlights that it's got a decent turret. It highlights that you can pick up flanks where your team need it. You can go out, clear out the targets when you need to. It's a good all-round versatile tank. But yeah, if you'd like another one, we could talk a bit more statistics, because I kind of skimmed over that and talked more about the gameplay, or rather whether the statistics help the strength in certain gameplay, like the penetration, the gun depression, the good mantlet. how they lend themselves to that playstyle. But yeah, if you do want more videos on this tank in regards to statistics, I got plenty more footage, and I'd be more than happy to, because it's a fun tank to play. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.